This is the second part of Chapter 7 on the prophetic devolution of the Greek Empire covered in Daniel 11. We will continue with Antiochus III and move on to his notorious son. Daniel 11:18-20. After this shall he turn his face to the isles, and shall take many, but a prince for his own behalf shall cause the reproach offered by him to cease. Without his own reproach he shall cause it to turn on him. Then he shall turn his face toward the fort of his own land, but he shall stumble and fall, and not be found. Then shall stand up in his estate a raiser of taxes in the glory of the kingdom, but within few days he shall be destroyed, neither in anger nor in battle. Not content with acquiring Egypt, Antiochus III next sought to gain control of the Greek islands. By 196 BC he had a foothold in Thrace, which called forth the active resistance of Rome. Scipio defeated his attack on Thermopylae, beat his commanders in 2 naval battles as he retreated, and then beat him at his own fort in the Battle of Magnesia. Lucius Scipio administered such a sound defeat that the reproach or presumptuous boastings of the Syrian were silenced once and for all. Yet Scipio achieved his victory without repaying Antiochus with like boasting, so without his own reproach. Antiochus III was humiliated into inactivity. He shall stumble and fall and be found no more. Seleucus IV Philopator succeeded Antiochus III, but because of his defeat had to pay Rome an enormous annual tribute of 1,000 talents. So he sent a raiser of taxes, Heliodorus, to appropriate the rich treasures of the temple at Jerusalem. Heliodorus went on with what had been decided, but when he arrived at the treasury with his bodyguard, then and there the sovereign of spirits and of all authority caused so great a manifestation that all who had been so bold as to accompany him were astounded by the power of God and became faint with terror. From 2 Maccabees 3:23-24. This was just the beginning of extraordinary events between Syria and Israel, so much so Daniel described it in chapter 8 as well. Daniel 8:8-12. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, the great horn was broken, and for it came up 4 notable ones toward the 4 winds of heaven. And out of one of them came forth a little horn, which waxed exceeding great toward the south and toward the east and toward the pleasant land. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the host and the stars to the ground, and stamped on them. Yes, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of the sanctuary was cast down, and a host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. Recall Alexander's empire was divided into 4 parts, one of which was Syria. Syria was eventually ruled by Antiochus Epiphanes, the shining one, but the Jews called him Antiochus Epiphanes, the mad one. He invaded Egypt in 170 and again in 168 BC, each time going through Israel. He had a pig sacrificed in the temple to Zeus, and tried to get the Jews to eat the meat. They were tortured for refusing and burnt at the altar. He had the priests make offerings to Jupiter. Thus he took away the daily sacrifice. Daniel 11:21-25. And in his estate shall stand up a vile person, to whom they shall not give the honor of the kingdom, but he shall come in peaceably, and obtain the kingdom by flatteries, and with the arms of a flood shall they be overflowed from before him, and shall be broken, yes, also the prince of the covenant. And after the league made with him, he shall work deceitfully, for he shall come up, and shall become strong with a small people. He shall enter peaceably even on the fattest places of the province, and he shall do that which his fathers have not done, nor his fathers' fathers. He shall scatter among them the prey and spoil and riches. Yes, and he shall forecast his devices against the strongholds, even for a time. And he shall stir up his power and his courage against the king of the south with a great army, and the king of the south shall be stirred up to battle with a very great and mighty army. But he shall not stand, for they shall forecast devices against him. Antiochus IV was at Athens on his way from Rome when his father died, and Heliodorus had declared himself king, as had several others. But Antiochus came in peaceably, for he obtained the kingdom by flatteries. He flattered Eumenes, king of Pergamus, and Attalus his brother, and got their assistance. He flattered the Romans, and sent ambassadors to court their favor, and pay them the arrears of the tribute. He flattered the Syrians, and gained their concurrence, and as he flattered the Syrians, so they flattered him, giving him the epithet of Epiphanes, the illustrious. But he was a vile person. Polybius said of him, he ate and drank with the meanest fellows, singing debauched songs. Daniel 11:26-30a. Yes, they that feed on the portion of his meat shall destroy him, and his army shall overflow, and many shall fall down slain. And both of these kings' hearts shall be to do mischief, and they shall speak lies at one table, but it shall not prosper, for yet the end shall be at the time appointed. Then shall he return into his land with great riches, and his heart shall be against the holy covenant, and he shall do exploits, and return to his own land. At the time appointed he shall return, and come toward the south. But it shall not be as the former, or as the latter. For the ships of Kittim shall come against him, therefore he shall be grieved and return. When Antiochus came to Memphis, he and Ptolemy Philometor had frequent conferences and spoke lies to each other. Neither succeeded in his intrigues. Ships from Kittim took a Roman senator to Alexandria, where he drew a circle around Antiochus and curtly told him he must agree to withdraw his troops before he stepped out of the circle, or else meet the Romans in war. Antiochus agreed to withdraw from Egypt immediately with great spoils. Daniel 11:30b-33. And have indignation against the holy covenant. So shall he do. He shall even return, and have intelligence with them that forsake the holy covenant. And arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice. And they shall place the abomination that makes desolate. And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. But the people that do know their God shall be strong, and do exploits. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many. Yet they shall fall by the sword, and by flame, by captivity, and by spoil many days. En route from Egypt to Syria, Antiochus brought a great army against Jerusalem, took it by storm. He boiled swine's flesh, and sprinkled the temple and altar with the broth, broke into the Holy of Holies, took away the golden vessels and other sacred treasures, amounting to the value of 1,800 talents. This was in fulfillment of one of the desolations of Abomination. Now when there was gone forth a false rumor, as though Antiochus had been dead, Jason took at least 1,000 men, and suddenly made an assault upon the city. Now when this that was done came to the king's ear, he thought that Judea had revolted, whereupon, removing out of Egypt in a furious mind, he took the city by force of arms, and commanded his men of war not to spare such as they met, and to slay such as went up upon the houses. Thus there was killing of young and old, making away of men, women, and children, slain of virgins and infants, and there were destroyed within the space of 3 whole days 80,000, whereof 40,000 were slain in the conflict, and no fewer sold than slain. And after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, and came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude, and spake peaceable words unto them, but all was deceit. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city, and smote it very sore, and destroyed much people of Israel. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire, and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. But the women and children took they captive, and possessed the cattle. Then builded they the city of David with a great and strong wall, and with mighty towers, and made it a stronghold for them.